Says he has time to prove his critics wrong. We'll tell you the details of that story and where he was speaking from.
And on our topic of discussion tonight, we're going to be tracking inroads that have been made to tackle gender-based violence, given that the statistics are quite grim. In the country, we're looking at 47 women are killed weekly in Kenya. So what is being done? We'll have retired Lady Justice Dr. Nancy Baraza to help us unpack that. She's the chair of the Gender-Based Violence Task Force.
That's quite a timely conversation. But first things first, here are tonight's highlights. Celebrating Palm Sunday. Christian faithful joined the world in marking the last Sunday before Easter as calls for political tolerance resonate in various places of worship. Proving naysayers wrong. President William Ruto dismisses his critics who have accused him of reneging on his pre-election pledges, telling them to watch their space. You pay, you bury. A family in Ruiru in distress after the body of a kin is detained at Kenyatta University Referral Hospital over an unpaid 1.7 million shillings bill.
Good evening.
Dingo. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, this is Sunday Express. I'm Regina Manyara.
It's John Jacob Kioria. And so Dingo is a sign language interpreter. To start us off tonight, Christians faithful across the country thronged to their respective churches to celebrate Palm Sunday, which paves the way for the start of the Holy Week in the Christian calendar.
The global annual observance was marked with vibrant processions as faithful waved palm branches in a symbolic reenactment of Jesus Christ's triumphant entry into Jerusalem.
And as John Kahiro reports, religious leaders took the opportunity to rally Kenyans to embrace peace and national unity.
At the Holy Family Basilica in Nairobi, the vibrant procession began at the Catholic parochial school, with the clergy members blessing the palm branches as a symbol of victory and peace by the Christian traditions. The Catholic faithful would then embark on a colorful procession, waving palm branches and chanting hosannas ahead of a holy Eucharistic celebration. This symbolizes the reenactment of Jesus Christ's triumphant entry into Jerusalem and his welcoming as a king. Speaking during the homily, the presiding priest, Father Simon Mwangi, rallied the congregation to stay firm in faith as they face various life tribulations.
When we suffer, when we undergo challenges, it's not a burden. Or don't take challenges or sufferings as a burden, but simply take them as a cross.
I believe it will be a blessing for all of us, and especially for us believers who are Catholics. And I urge all the Catholics to matilia maanani hii wiki.
Similar sentiments took center stage at the All Saints Cathedral, with the ACK Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit calling for a political tone down in the country.
In that breath, we are reminded of the happenings of last week, when, even this week, when our young daughters of Butere Girls High School were denied an opportunity or were intimidated and they were not able to perform in the drama festivals. And the tear gas that was hurled against them is actually unnatural. Those are young talents and young girls. They were not armed. We needed to handle them as our children.
And in Kakamega County, faithful from St. Joseph Catholic Church also observed the day with a procession in Kakamega town. Kakamega and Vihiga Diocese Bishop Joseph Obanya called on politicians to avoid polarizing the country along ethnic lines.
Using young people or children to pass our political points is wrong.
In Kiambu County, faithful from St. Anne and Joachim Dumberi outstation of Riara Parish too commemorated the annual observance, which marks the end of the Lent season with a vibrant procession to celebrate the Palm Sunday. The Palm Sunday now sets the tone for the solemn and Holy Week, which will culminate in Easter Sunday, celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ. John Kahiro, Sunday Express, from the Holy Family Basilica, Nairobi.
President William Ruto has dismissed his critics who have accused him of re-engaging on his pre-election pledges, saying he would prove naysayers wrong.
The head of state says his administration has spent this last 2 years trying to steady the economy and is now ready to roll out the implementation of the remaining bit of his pre-election pledges. In Elgeyo Marakwet County, for an interdenominational prayer service, President William Ruto sought to respond to his critics over his pre-election pledges. The president says he's all hands on deck and will prove his critics wrong.
Naona kuna watu wako na wasiwasi. Wale wanasema hiyo amesema ni uongo, hiyo amesema. Mimi nataka niwaeleze. Hawa watu wanaosema ati yale tunasema haitafanyika, tutawaaibisha. In a very short while tutawashangaza. Kwa sababu hii maneno yote we are going to make sure that we acquit ourselves of every commitment we have made. Na mimi si wazimu, I know what I'm doing.
Despite what he terms as concerted efforts to derail implementation of reforms in key sectors, the president says with the economy having stabilized, the reforms he has instituted are beginning to bear fruit.
Sasa nafikiri kwa kiasi kikubwa tumedhibiti uchumi wa Kenya, na ndio sababu the last 2 weeks tumelipa contractors shilingi bilioni 60 Kenya mzima, kwa sababu macontractors wengi walikuwa wametoka barabarani kwa sababu ya kukosa pesa, kwa sababu uchumi yetu ilikuwa kidogo hafifu.
President wetu amefanya bidii, na hiyo bidii tunaiona kwa mambo mingi.
Wakati Kibaki alikuwa president 2002, 2007, 2005 alifanya referendum, he lost. Kwa sababu watu walifika kelele afanye kazi, sijui afanye nini. After 10 years kuwa president, kila mtu anasema sasa Kibaki alikuwa president mzuri.
Part of those reforms, according to the president, are the access to universal health care through the Social Health Authority.
Katika kujisajili kwa mpango huu wa Taifa Care, musisikize wale wanaendesha propaganda. Kuna magavanas wengine na watu wengine wanaendesha tu propaganda. SHA haifanyi kazi, sijui nini. Nyinyi, you know what you're doing. Huyu governor na county ya hapa, they know what is going on. So, wale wengine wataamuka siku ingine. For you, songa mbele.
Ruto says the government is keen on supporting farmers through its subsidized fertilizer program during the ongoing planting season to increase yields and inch closer to attaining food security for all Kenyans.
Bidii yenu kama wakulima imeonekana wazi kwamba mwaka huu tumepunguza kwa kiasi kikubwa ile mahindi tunaagiza ya kuzalisha ama ya kulisha wa Kenya.
And now the Deputy President, Professor Kidhure Kindiki, says that the government will not allow leaders to jeopardize national stability for political gain.
Speaking in Kilgori's Narok County during an interdenominational Thanksgiving, Mers Kindiki stated that unity will take precedence, arguing that political intolerance will impede development and economic growth.
And as Abdiaziz Hashim now reports, the second in command took a swipe at his predecessor, noting that his work, or rather said that his work was to aid the appointing authority and not to challenge the head of state.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki in the company of leaders from the Mar region were in Kilgoris, Narok County for spiritual nourishment on Sunday. The second in command used the occasion to address leaders whom he accused of peddling divisive politics.
The roads we are building, the electricity we are connecting, the jobs we are trying to get our young people, all those things can be undermined if our national unity, national stability, and national peace is compromised.
Mambo yao imeenda kombo na wameenda vile wameenda. Na hata wakienda vile wameenda, unaona bado wanaeneza ukabila.
Sisi tungependa tuwe Kenya ambaye iko huru bila ukabila.
The DP emphasized that constructive criticism against the administration will be considered, but not at the expense of political gains.
Na kama ni maoni mazuri yatajumuishwa katika ujenzi ya taifa letu. Lakini hakuna mmoja wetu ako na ruhusa ati kwa sababu ako na maoni tofauti kusambaratisha amani na utulivu wa kitaifa.
While urging the residents to give a deaf ear to this section of politicians, DP Kindiki noted that the broad-based government has ensured inclusivity.
Na ndio unaona mambo ya kuchochea wananchi imeenda chini kwa sababu hata wale ambao walikuwa wapinzani sasa hivi wanasukuma gurudumu la kuendelea na mambo ya wananchi kwa sababu mambo ya viongozi itakuja baadaye siku ya uchaguzi.
He at the same time took a swipe at his predecessor.
Kuna wengine walipewa kazi kawashinda. Sababu sasa unaenda kushindana na mkubwa na unajua lazima kuwe na mkubwa mmoja at a time. Ama namna gani? Kuna shida hapo. See, there must be only one person at a time.
Wewe umeenda umeshika sasa kiti cha deputy president na unamsaidia mheshimiwa Ruto kabisa.
Sisi kama governors ya UDA na Kenya Kwanza na kwa Kenya mzima tumesema tukushikilie ili uweze kusaidia rais wetu aweze kuendesha Kenya yetu.
Abdiaziz Hashim for Sunday Express.
Now, a section of politicians have faulted the decision. Okay. Now let's speak matters politics. A section of politicians have faulted the decision by some churches to deny them an opportunity to address the church congregation.
Speaking after attending a church service in PCA Gadhaidi Church in Githunguri, where they were denied audience, the political leaders led by Kiambu County Woman Representative Anne Wamratha urged religious leaders to rethink the decision.
This even as stewards Revival Pentecostal Church Bishop Samuel Njuriri called for respect of places of worship, saying they should not be used by politicians to advance their agenda.
Here is Timothy Kipnusu with that story.
The decision by a section of religious leaders to deny politicians a chance to address congregants in various parts of the country appears to be receiving a pushback from a section of members of the political class. Kiambu County Woman Representative Anne Wamratha says the decision is ill-informed, urging the religious leaders to rethink the move.
Sisi wote ni watu wa kanisa. Na kwa hivyo mchungaji, jambo moja hata sisi tunakubaliana na wewe. Kuna wakati mambo yanaendanga yanakuwa overboard. Inakuwa imezidi zaidi, lakini sasa sisi tumejua ni lazima tuheshimu kanisa.
Jesus has come to our church today.
In a rejoinder, stewards Revival Pentecostal Church Bishop Samuel Njuriri said places of worship need to be respected and not to be used to advance political interests.
Hata kama tunaruhusu politician because wengine ni washirika wetu, ni vizuri wale ambao tunaongoza tunaonyesha mahali patakatifu paheshimiwe. Kuna vita zingine na maneno mengine hayastahili especially kwa madhabahu.
Tunawapenda, but the atmosphere these days is very bad. Mnaweza mkasema jambo, mkaona watu wanatokea huko, tujue waje na hatutaki.
Mimi mwenyewe nimeleta shilingi bilioni 2.
During the church service at PCA Gadaitha, the debate on hefty donations to churches was revisited, with a section of leaders reading from different scripts.
Kenya inatumika kama center ya wizi wa gold ambazo zinauzwa, zinatoa hiyo pesa ambayo ni pesa chafu, inaitwa money laundering.
Najua nimesikia mwingine hapo nje anasema ati sisi ni watu wa money laundering sijui nini. Hiyo ni yake. Ile mtu tunasafu ni Mwenyezi Mungu. Si ni kweli? Ukitoa unatolea nani? Mwenyezi Mungu.
The recent cases of violence witnessed in places of worship, including a bizarre case of a preacher assaulting a member of his church, has also been condemned.
Wanafunzi na ni wanafunzi wa Yesu. Si Yesu aliwakuta wamelala? Mara ngapi? Akikuta wamelala anafanya nini? Anawaamsha polepole. Anawaambia mfanye nini? Amkeni.
The youth have also been urged to be wary of politicians who want to use them to advance their selfish interests.
Vijana wetu msiruhusu the politician kuwabeba na pewa pesa kidogo ya kwenda pengine kuharibu amani ama kuharibu mikutano ya wengine.
Nasikia uchungu sana kama hawa watoto wakipelekwa kule alafu wanapigwa tear gas. Na kweli kuna kuwa siasa mbaya, mambo mabaya.
Sisi wazazi ndio tunakaa na hawa watoto, tunawachunga. Wakati wengine wanasoma, wale wameumia wanaachwa nyumbani na wanarudishwa nyuma.
Timothy Kipnusu for Sunday Express.
You know, in a country where youth shake stadiums, trend hashtags, and electrify protests, is one place their presence fades to a whisper, the ballot box.
So tonight on Sunday Express, after this particular break, that is details that are soon going to be coming your way by Ben Chumba. We take a quick breather, and when we come to discuss, we're also going to be looking at stemming gender-based violence. Do keep it right here.
Kupitia star 570 hash tunakupa nafasi ya kuchomoka na this beautiful Mazda Demio. Enjoy a beautiful clean semi-leather interior, low mileage, fuel-efficient 1300cc engine, great for personal use and business. Ukitaka kujishindia gari hii, kucheza ni rahisi sana. Chukua simu yako, bonyeza star 570 hash, chagua option 3. And for only 35 shillings, hii gari inaweza kuwa yako. Kumbuka kucheza mara kadhaa, because the more you play, the higher chances of wewe kuwa mshindi.
Mungu ni mwema, asante Mungu. Ile ndio naendesha hivi.
Dial star 570 hash and make this dream car yours.
Cheza Loto Moto.
Mambo.
Potela.
Patie mandazi nikauze.
Uli, mandazi iko wapi?
Wewe.
Hii ni 10. Na iko na nyama ndani.
Hapa food polite manzi, hapa na unatuma mambo yenyu tu hapa hivi iko polite manzi. Marada hapa.
Malandazi yalitoka na last government.
Ati nikanje food 390. Hii nijikute nijichune.
Finally.
Kwenda toka hapa. Kwenda kabisa.
Saidia, nitapotea maji.
Wewe, hebu simama hapa. Ngoja nikushike.
Welcome back. Before we cross over to Regina for that conversation, In a country where youth shake stadiums, trend hashtags and electrify protests, there is one place their presence fades to a whisper, and that's the ballot box. Tonight on Sunday Express, we dive into a striking paradox at the heart of Kenya's democracy. Young people under the age of 35, bold, brilliant, and brimming with potential, make up nearly 80% of the population. They are the energy behind political campaigns. Their faces in every rally, their voices shaking up the streets. But when it comes to real power, they're left standing outside the halls of decision-making. Could the fire be ignited in the Gen Z-led protests of 2024 finally light the way to the ballot box in 2027? Ben Chumba takes us inside Kenya's youth political awakening and the tough questions that could shape a nation's future.
They are vibrant, they are vocal, they are visible. Kenya's youth, nearly 80% of the population, forms the backbone of the nation.
If you want a mass or a crowd to address, then you're going to be looking for young people and perhaps women who, for the very reasons we know, are jobless.
From mobilizing crowds at campaign rallies to trending hashtags online, young people are ever present in election seasons. But when the votes are counted and the government takes shape, they vanish from the inner rooms of leadership.
Ethnicity has been the key driver of politics in this country.
And with tribalism, you expect the same results. The reflection of tribalism is going to be the pinnacle of our election.
Kenya's youth are not just a statistic, they are the soul of every political wave. Yet their energy rarely translates to power.
Either they burn out and their strength and say has usually never been seen in the ballot.
Instead of candidates, they are campaigners. Instead of strategists, they are security. The irony, the youth carry the message but never get to shape the mission.
If we continue waiting for Article 35 on youth inclusion, you are going to end up with 2 senators, for example, out of the 35 million strong young people in this country, representing male and female.
Why does this cycle persist? Why do young voters, despite being educated and exposed, still fall back on tribal political loyalties?
Those are the youth who become an available militia to antagonize those from others.
We're talking about people without livelihoods and without incomes, people without economic impetus or capacity to run their own affairs.
From the classroom to the campaign trail, something shifts. Friendships formed across tribal lines vanish behind the curtains of clan and community interests.
You can even find post-school organizations based off we are a class of this year, we are a class of that year, and formations are done around that.
If we can carry that culture of student politics without necessarily inclining or looking into the tribe of a particular leader, but looking at the content and the quality of the leader, then I think that might just well change our political discourse.
And politicians, old and new, exploit that vulnerability every 5 years.
Funeral gatherings are the target. We convert it to a theater of grandstanding and demonstrating who is a better mobilizer and who has more hecklers and goons compared to the other.
But 2024 offered a glimpse of a different future. During the Gen Z-led protests against the finance bill, thousands of young Kenyans poured into the streets, not for a politician, but for principles. No tribes, no party slogans, just rage, just resolve.
If it's true that at the Gen Z revolution last year, we were united by issues, then that issue, those particular issues should unite us at the particular time of the elections, and not our tribes, not our religions, not our regions.
But can that energy reach the ballot box in 2027,
or will it fizzle out once again, replaced by the old tribal tunes and token promises?
It is going to be very difficult to redeem them because they know nothing beyond organization around ethnicity.
If you're still going to vote on ethnical mobilization, on ethnic emotions and all that, then we will end up with the same caliber and quality of leaders without really reflecting on the aspirations of young people.
2027 elections are less than 2 years, and Kenya's youth hold the numbers, the networks, and the narrative. But will they hold the future, or will they once again be the engine of a vehicle they never get to drive?
Are we going to experience more division towards the elections? That is guaranteed and given.
Ben Chumba, Sunday Express.
Good evening once again, and as we mentioned, we're going to be tracking, inroads that have been made to address gender-based violence. And my guest tonight is none other than retired Lady Justice Dr. Nancy Barasa, who is the chairperson of the Technical Working Group on Gender-Based Violence, including femicide. Thank you, ma'am, for your time.
Welcome.
You are already probing, the gender-based violence. Looking at the statistics, they're quite alarming. 47 women killed weekly in Kenya, and a report there indicates that 725 cases actually of femicide alone were reported in 2024. As you're tracking this and trying to find out why the increase in number, what are you finding?
As you have mentioned, we are finding a horrifying story of women being killed almost every day, but as I've said, a minimum of 47 women are losing their lives every month. So we are finding those alarming figures, but according to our terms of reference, we were to look into possible causes of increased GBV, including femicide, and make recommendations, policy recommendations that could form a basis of action on behalf of the president, the executive. So that is what we are finding, and of course, what is most alarming is that femicide is happening within domestic setups, in places, in homes where people should find love, should find comfort, but those have become the death traps for women. So out of all these figures, 60% of women killed have been killed by intimate partners, mostly husbands, and also boyfriends, or within home setups. So that is what is most alarming. Then we find 5% is by people who are strangers. And another 35%, the causes and the perpetrators are not known. But the scary thing is that domestic area.
Domestic is no longer safe. Home is no longer safe.
Home is not safe.
Why do you think
it's the most dangerous place for women
What has changed? Because from an African setup, home should be your home. It should be a place of peace. What has changed?
What has changed? I don't know if anything has changed, because those of us who have been in this struggle for women's rights and targeting GBV from our days in FIDA, if you ever heard of FIDA.
Yes.
Domestic violence has always been there.
Yes.
Home has always been dangerous for women.
Yes.
But there is an increase, and the outcome of the COVID pandemic showed that that is a very, very dangerous place for women and for children. There are a lot of defilements going on within that home setup, so that a child is not safe with their father or with their brothers or with their uncles. The wives are not safe, some men are not safe, domestic violence, but of course it affects women most. So the home is a problematic place because it is a place considered to be private. It's private space, and therefore the state hardly intervenes. And then it is protected by culture. It is protected by secrecy. People are being killed. People are being battered within there. But everybody considers it to be a private space.
Private space.
Private space, so that nobody reports.
Now let's go, you've mentioned something about the reporting, because statistic indicates that conviction rates are at dismal 12%. Yes. Of the cases that actually get reported. Yes. But even before we get reported, there's also the subversion of justice, and I'm using it with a tinge of salt. We are having people opting for kangaroo courts when it comes to addressing this issue, because it happens within the home. How is this affecting justice, especially from the victim or the survivor point of view?
When people can't report, that compromises justice for the victims. When the victims themselves cannot exercise the agency to get out there and report because of culture, because of stigma, fear of stigma, that compromises justice for those victims. And then the few which get reported and get prosecuted, again with challenges within the justice sector. Then we have very few which get concluded successfully. But more often than not, because of its very nature, because of the intimacy of the people involved, most victims sometimes withdraw those cases, opting to go for mediation, for other forms of resolving the dispute. And therefore they withdraw. Yeah. Even when the police have worked hard to bring people to book, even when the prosecution is working hard to make sure that the cases are prosecuted, then the victims are forced by one thing or the other to withdraw. And that, in my view, is what is compromising these cases and making the perpetrators more encouraged to continue perpetrating the violence. And when you look at cases of femicide, they are as a result of a pattern of abuse, consistent abuse within that home. Then it is resolved, or so it is thought it has been resolved, and then it continues because there is no sentence or there's no punishment which can deter. Then eventually this pattern results into femicide. So that is what is happening.
Right. Now, especially where children are concerned, when you talk about gender-based violence, there's the issue of culture and tradition, and this is where early marriages come in.
Yes.
Are we also addressing early marriages as a form of gender-based violence?
Of course it is. Early marriages are a form of GBV. A child or someone below the age of 18 is a child.
Yes.
And when such a child is married off, she's definitely being defiled. And that is GBV. She's going through that process of how women or wives are generally treated, you know, beaten and mistreated, and therefore that is GBV. So there is law, of course, which the marriage law, the constitution itself, which prohibits early marriages. Yeah. But they are still going on in certain pockets. Yeah.
So then, how then do we strike a balance, you know, when it comes to culture and tradition that we say Africa is our business, you know, we are traditional, but then some are crimes. How do we strike a balance? How do we still...
I think we need to strike that balance. The Constitution is so clear.
Yes.
It recognizes positive culture. There is positive culture in our African setup, but there is negative culture. Things like FGM, early marriages, wife beating, those ones are discouraged by the law. And therefore, we need to harmonize have the law be real, result in positive gains for women and girls.
Right.
So culture, unless it is positive and contributes to the well-being of citizens, that is not culture that should be obeyed. And I'm talking about this private space.
Yes.
This so-called private space, which the state cannot intervene, which the citizens cannot intervene. And yet that is the epicenter of femicide.
We will be picking up from that point, Dr. So tonight we're tracking inroads that are being made to stem the rising cases of gender-based violence, including femicide. And my guest is none other than retired Lady Justice, Dr. Nancy Baraza, who is the chair of the Technical Working Group, saying that the home is not home where you find peace, but the epicenter of this particular scourge. We'll be back with more, a quick breather.
Inuka na loto moto sasa kwa star 570 hash option ya 4 kuna kashamba juja na nika 50 by 100 worth 1.7 million Kenyan shillings. Na hii si shamba tu, iko kwa prime location, few minutes from Juja town. Stima yako iko ndani, na kama ni development rapid and so promising. Na mambo ya landlord, mwisho wa mwanzo ni hapa. Ukishinda hili shamba tunakuongeza 1 million Kenyan shillings ujijengee nyumba yako kwa shamba yako. Kuinuka na loto moto ni kucheza sasa hivi kupitia star 570 hash option ya 4 au register deposit na ucheze sasa hivi kwa www.tushinde.com na ujishindie shamba hili na addition of 1 million Kenyan shillings. Inuka na loto moto!
Technology has become a crucial part of our society. Without technological advancements, so much of our everyday lives would be drastically different. As technology develops, it strives to fulfill the changing needs of society. This means that technology exists to help us achieve the things that we wouldn't be able to achieve without it. Take on Tech looks at the advantages and downside of technological innovation in a world that is becoming increasingly dependent on new digital technologies. Every Monday at 10:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You can be part of this conversation. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. My guest tonight is none other than retired Lady Justice Dr. Nancy Baraza. She chairs a technical working group on gender-based violence as well as femicide. Dr. Before we took a quick break, we were looking at the statistics and how the home is no longer safe. But then what do we do, especially when culture, you've mentioned culture, sometimes we need to take up the positive culture and do away with the negative. But then on ground, that not enough. We're also looking at the issue of men. The men are also victims in this gender-based violence debacle. Where are they? What are the statistics? What findings have you had in this probe?
Men are also victims of domestic violence. Although, as I started off by saying, it affects women most. Okay. But there are some. But the problem with the men suffering from domestic violence or gender-based violence is that they don't report. Oh. Men hardly go to the police station to report because they are ridiculed, they are laughed at, they are bullied by fellow men who think he's betraying the male gender.
A man cannot be beaten up.
A man cannot be beaten up, and how can you get it?
Yes.
So they don't benefit from the protections of the law.
All right.
Okay, so that is a problem. Again, a practice or an attitude that we must debunk if we are to deal with GBV.
It cuts across all genders.
It cuts across all genders.
Dr.
So that if a man goes to the police station, they will just say, please go back home. I mean, you can't. So.
But then that is a reality, not just for men, but also for women who find themselves reporting these matters. We've had reports where a victim goes to report, but they're asked, how do you know this person? And immediately they say it's a spouse, a partner, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. It becomes a domestic squabble. What do we do in such a case? What would you advise a victim who is seeking justice in such a situation?
I think the people we are trying to deal with, and we've been in touch with the Inspector General of Police to pass message to the public and to his officers around the country that gender-based violence is a serious crime. It is a serious violation of the rights of women and men and children, and therefore it should be treated seriously when victims go to report. And that message should go across the country. Because when we dismiss it as a domestic thing, then we are letting these fellows go back from the space where they are trying to run away from, and eventually they get killed. Yes, so I urge the Commissioner of Police, and we are in contact with that office just to pass that message across, that police officers manning stations where GBV is being reported should take that work very, very seriously.
Okay. Some of the comments and feedback that we're getting on our socials include a question of coercion. A question of coercion, especially when someone reports and they're forced by the family members to recant their statements. What is how do you seek redress, or how do we avoid that from happening or stop from happening? Because it is happening.
That is what is now causing these numbers, escalated numbers of GBV, because of that interference and family members discouraging people from reporting, coercing them, threatening them, sisters-in-law threatening wives who have been beaten. And yet there is so much violation going on within that. They can't even report sodomy of their own children. They can't. They cannot report incest of their own children. And it is going on. They are just shrouded in secrecy. As human rights of these children, the lives of these children, the dreams of these children are being broken. And let me tell you what we are finding is those horror stories of fathers impregnating daughters. Incest is on the rise. Sodomy is on the rise within that family setup.
Now, the question is, how safe are these victims once they report? Because there's been a question of exposure. How are we handling their safety?
Ideally, in a good functional system, there should be safe houses or shelters, even within police stations, where these people can seek refuge. They can be housed, they can be protected. Because let me tell you, I assure you, if most of them, if they go back, the backlash is really big.
Yeah.
So in an ideal situation, there should be shelters or safe houses where these victims can go. And so most of them don't go to report because, exactly because of that reason, that where will they go? And they will be beaten up. And the whole community will turn against them. Yeah. So in an ideal situation,
we should have safe houses.
We should have safe houses.
But then we do not have these safe houses. So what to do?
Those are the things we are looking into. We are looking into them. I have studied a lot around this area. I have looked at comparative jurisdictions. What have they done? And for it to be meaningful combating of GBV, then we must have those safe houses if we are serious about it. And therefore, this calls for a reorganization of our financing, prioritizing. Are we putting sufficient resources within the GBV, combating GBV?
Yes.
Because if we don't have those safe houses, where will those children go who have been sodomized, who have been defiled, who have been raped, and they keep going back there
to the same space. Now, as we bring this to a close, I know this is a conversation that we can take a long time discussing, and we'll be looking out for the report of this particular task force and the recommendations therein. We are in the technology age, and we have seen a rise in cyber gender-based violence. Sextortion is on the high. Actually, there's been a 40% increase. I mean, do you have the capacity to get ahead of this?
That is one of our terms of reference, to look at the effect of social media, issues of cyberbullying, issues of social media pushing toxic masculinity. And let me tell you, from what we are getting, that is one of the reasons that we have GBV and femicide on the rise, because of that toxic masculinity being propagated by the online. So that is an issue. It is an emerging area, and probably we may not have sufficient laws that govern that area within the context of femicide and GBV. And that is an area that we are mandated to look into. Yeah.
In conclusion, Dr. Reed, because we'll have this conversation once again as the task force continues to do its probe and such. In closing, safety of women, especially, the rise of femicide, and also just generally looking at gender-based violence, what advice would you give as in closing?
From what I have seen so far, the family which is supposed to be the glue of society is disintegrating. A family is broken in Kenya. Children are on their own, shaping their own culture. Now, these young boys, 19-year-old, killing in the most callous manner, and you look at them, they are disconnected from family. They are on their own. And then I think just lack of respect for women, it's gone. And I think they get it from home, from where. How you treat women or people generally, we pick it from somewhere.
Yes.
And these children can only be picking it from home. If the fathers and mothers are busy fighting, what are these children getting out of it? They are the monsters of tomorrow.
Yes.
And that is what is happening.
Oh, that is quite heavy. They are the monsters of tomorrow.
They are the monsters of tomorrow. What else are they learning from there? They know the father is sodomizing their brothers. They know the father is beating their mother. They know a relative is defiling their sister. What can those children grow up to be? They can only be the demons that we are manufacturing for tomorrow. So family, I think parents, family in Kenya is broken. And unless we mend it and we get serious about our children and teach them the values that used to glue the society together, we are losing it.
Those are the words of retired Lady Justice Dr. Nancy Baraza, who chairs that technical working group that is probing gender-based violence as well as femicide. The family setup is disintegrating, and that's creating future monsters. That is our interactive segment. Remember, we're going to be having this conversation as the task force continues with its probe, so we'll be keeping tabs on that. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your time.
You're welcome.
Now let's bring you up to speed with more stories, where a family in Ruto, Kiambu County is at a loss following the detention of the body of their kin at the Kenyatta University Referral Hospital over an unpaid bill that keeps increasing. Caleb Onyango, 40 years old, is reported to have succumbed after a short illness while receiving treatment at the hospital. The family now says it needs 1.7 million shillings to offset the hospital bill and give their kin a proper send-off.
With the tears cascading down her cheeks, Janet Barasa, mother of two and the wife to the deceased Caleb Onyango, narrates the agony the family has been going through after they lost their loved one. Her 40-year-old husband died after a short illness on 25th March 2025 while receiving treatment at Kenyatta University Referral Hospital.
Tuliingia ward Januari tarehe 1, tukakaa huko mpaka March 25 mwezi wa 3 hii. Aliaga tarehe hiyo 25. Kwa saa hii ako kwa mochari ya referral. Mwili imeshikwa kwa sababu ya bili kubwa ya hospitali.
Shindwa na bili ni kubwa, tumekataa kupewa mili sababu bili ni kubwa. Anasema tukaribishe tutengeneze hiyo bili kwanza ndio tuchukue mwili yetu, ni yenyewe sisi yenyewe hatuna uwezo.
She says his treatment amounted to 2 million shillings. However, 300,000 shillings was covered by the Social Health Authority, leaving a balance of 1.7 million shillings that the family could not raise alongside the mortuary fee, which continues to accrue.
Ya hospitali ilikuja 2,000,000 na saa kalipa 1,300. Sasa tumebaki na 1.7 na sisi hatuna uwezo.
Nataka tu mnisaidie. Pesa yenye inastahili huko ni mingi, 2,000,000 na hata sisi wenyewe hatuna hata shamba huko nyumbani.
To help fast-track the release of their kin's body for burial, the family conducted numerous fundraising events to no avail.
Changamoto yenye tumepitia ni vile tu hakuna pesa, hata hapa tukisanya hakuna.
Walikuwa wanahitaji 75% ya ile bill iweze kulipwa ndio waweze kurelease hiyo mwili. Kwa hivyo mama ameachwa na watoto 2 ambapo mwenyewe ndio alikuwa breadwinner ya hii nyumba. So far hakuna mahali popote ambapo hiyo pesa inaweza kutolewa ndio mwili iweze kwenda kuzikwa.
The family has now turned to well-wishers for help. For financial aid, you can reach the family through Millicent Adhiambo Apondo. Phone number is 011-6597-674 or till number 34130556. For Sunday Express, I am Teresa Mutai.
And welcome. It is time for Sunday Express Sports with me, Bernardo Kumu. More than 550 swimmers took part in the Nairobi County Swimming Championship held at Kioria School in Nairobi. Following the conclusion of the event, a total of 27 swimmers were selected and will take part in the forthcoming Africa Junior Championship slated for Cairo later this month.
In some of the individual events, Nina Iragi of Braeburn Swim Club took a time of 2 minutes, 52.52 seconds to top the girls 14 to 15 years 200 meters individual medley category ahead of Ariana Warui and Kelly Komingoi, who finished in the second and third places respectively.
If you want your child as a coach, as a parent, to head for the international podium, Nairobi is a place to go. Our standards are international top standard. Our timing system is fully electronic, so our times are spot on. They are to the tenth of a second.
In the boys 9 years and under, Max Mugo of Seahorses and Aquatic Center finished first with a time of 3 minutes, 11.73 seconds ahead of Miles Baraka and Ethan Omondi.
There are very many clubs in Nairobi, quite a number of clubs in Nairobi. If you want to be referred to any club, you can get in touch with any officials of the county. And like I own a club, even some of the officials own clubs, so it's possible to join any club in Nairobi.
In the school rankings, Braeburn Swimming Club topped the men's category with Little Fish Swim Club and Sills Swim Club being ranked in the second and third positions respectively. Braeburn dominated the women's competitions to emerge the winners in the women's category, ahead of Torpedo and Sails Fish Swim Club. Attention now shift to the forthcoming African Junior Swimming Championship due next month in Cairo, where Kenya will be represented by more than 20 swimmers.
And to handball now, where Lions men's handball team continued with their winning streak after a 34-22 victory over Young City in an entertaining Kenya Handball League match played at Kaloleni Handball Grounds here in Nairobi. Philip Loko gave Lions an early lead after netting 3 goals as Joseph Maina, Paul Mwinga and Dennis Sakwa were also on the score sheet to give Lions a deserved 20-13 first half lead. In the second half, Young City attempts to come back were fruitless, with Lions holding on to clinch the 34-22 victory. Following the win, Lions are 8th on the men's Premier League's table on 22 points, while Young City remain 24th on 6 points. In another result, Kenyatta University ladies team beat Amazon 26-8 in the ladies league match played at the same venue. And to golf now, where Anthony Lee Thimbi produced an excellent performance to emerge as the overall winner of the inaugural Mombasa Chamber Golf Tournament held at the prestigious Nyali Golf and Country Club on Saturday. Playing off handicap 15, Lee Thimbi returned an impressive 44 Stableford points to top a competitive field of 200 golfers drawn from across the coastal region and invited clubs. His strong showing set the tone for what turned out to be a memorable first edition of the tournament organized by the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sami Mulama, playing off scratch, posted the best gross score of the day with a round of 75. In the men's category, Alpesh Malde claimed top honors with a solid 43 points, while Tom Abuao settled for runner-up slot on 39 points. Mary Kandu stood out among the ladies, winning the category with 40 points off a 9 handicap. Teresio Do followed closely with 38 points to claim the runner-up spot. Speaking after the event, KNCCI Mombasa chapter chairman Abu Jamal said the tournament was more than just a sporting event, as it was a platform to bring together partners, stakeholders and business leaders in a relaxed and social setting.
I think this has been a very successful event so far, but there's a lot more to watch out for, and we are looking forward to, having it included in our calendar of events going forward, that at least we have an annual golf tournament, basically once a year, to be able to create a really high profile networking event for our members.
And across the board, as Chelsea's hopes of playing Champions League next season were dented after being held to a 2-2 draw by Ipswich Town at Stamford Bridge. Julio Enciso and Ben Johnson scored for Ipswich, while Chelsea,
I'm sure, will come up with a spring in their step and a flea in their rear. Here's Madueke, and that hasn't taken Sancho!
And of course, with that Chelsea 2-2 draw against Ipswich, dents their hopes for qualifying for playing in next season's Champions League, while Manchester United drops from 13th place to 14th place. Manchester United guys are saying they only support Gor Mahia. How about the shift? Anyway, that's it from the sports desk this lovely evening. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Bernard Okumu.
I hope you realize that was a low jab from Okumu, all you.
Oh my God, Bernard, I do not play boxing, but that's an uppercut. I have no rejoinder. My God, I'm sorry. Anyway, going forward, if we're talking about football, I ditched Manchester United a long time ago. I'm only focused on the local football. Yeah. I support Gor Mahia.
It's a good decision. It's a good decision. Don't settle for less. At number 14. That's all we have for you. Thank you very much for watching Sunday Express. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Have yourself a good night.
It is well with my soul. Have a great start to the Holy Week. May you be increased. I'm Regina Manyara.
bwana. Town Express. Twende bwana. Town. Watu ya town twende. Kadia hapo nyuma. Bado haijajaa. Dere watu wengine 7.
Kwani wazako si ungekulia kwenu? Sasa umetoka wapi? Mimi sitaki mahindi leo.
Wewe unamchia mkate.
Siagushi mkate fubi.
Wewe ongea bora usituze mkate yangu.
Usishike hivi. Wazako wasikulia huko mbali na mimi. Si mimi nakulamiwa ni wewe.
Donda, gari imejaa na bado unasema watu waingie. Tuambie ndare hapo apunguze wimbo. Niongee na kama hapa.
Hakuna volume inapunguzwa hapa. Kama unataka kuendesha gari yako, enda dial *570# option ya 3. Watu wanaendesha magari hapa nje na wewe bado unapiga nyenyenye kwa matatu.
Option 3,
unalipa ama unasuka?
Comfort yako iko kwa *570# option 3. Master Genio moja safi, reliable, modern safety and security features. Cheza mara kadhaa ujaze entry tickets zako kwenye draw ili uimarishe uwezo wa kushinda. Mshindi tunamtangaza 27th of April na gari tutakufikishia.
Unaenda hapa wewe?
Mimi siendi na madri, nishainuka na *570#.
Inuka na Genio kwa *570# option 3.
Asante.